Hi, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you for joining me. So this is the 12 cards in 12 days challenge that I set myself. And this is day 8. And it's a day late because I had a few technical issues yesterday, but it is here today. And day 9 is coming up today as well. Anyway, you can see that I've used my circle dies because it's one of the 3 items that I've been using for the whole series. And I've cut a variety of circles. So I cut 2 of the larger ones, 2 of the smaller ones, and 1 of the middle-sized ones. And I've cut them in half. Well, I started to cut them in half. You can see that I've also cut some in scrap paper. What I tend to do is when I try a technique for the first time, I like to cut it out in scrap paper just so I don't make any, to help prevent any muck-ups with it. So with the scrap piece of paper there that I've cut in the same size, I've folded it in half and I'm using that as a guide to cut my circles in half. So I'm just showing you the large one there, and then I've got to do the 2 smaller ones as well. So by doing it that way, they're always nice and neat and even, and happy days, because I like everything to be just totally perfect. Which of course is crazy because I make cards. Anyway, so I'm just finishing cutting these ones in half. It is a nice way to start, particularly when you're new. I mean, even for me now, it's hard to find the dead center of a circle unless you fold it in half. So I am got the middle size card, and you can see that I've got the half of the heavily patterned circle, the large one, and I am lining up and sticking the middle size plain piece, and I've got it lined up so it's perfectly straight down the bottom and it's way over in the right hand side corner. So I'm then going to add to it the other piece of pattern paper, but the smallest circle that's been cut in half. And I'm making sure that there's enough glue, it's not going to come off. You quite possibly don't need as much glue as I use, but it's one of the things that I do. And I'm just putting that on nice and firmly. So with the other halves, you could actually have enough to make 2 cards here, but this time you can see I've used the large half of the plainer patterned paper. I've used the middle one again of the green paper, and now I'm going to use the more patterned one, or the lighter one of the patterned paper, but I'm lining it up in exactly the same way as I did the first one. So I'm lining it all up over on the right hand side, but making sure it's totally flat in the bottom. So I guess I'm basically lining it up in the lower right hand corner, if a circle has a corner. All right, so this is my card piece that I'm putting on my card base is A3. It's exactly the same size as my card base, but I am going to trim it off. Oh, I'm cutting, that's right. Sorry, I made this yesterday. So I am just cutting off 1 inch from the bottom of my card front. So that's an A6 card front, and I'm just cutting up 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters off the front. And I'm going to pop this in this one other folder actually. So I suppose there's 4 tools that I'm using, because I have been using this beautiful mistletoe embossing folder, but you could use any embossing folder that you like for this. Anything that you've got in your stash, actually. I'd love to think that you can use things in your stash to make these cards. And this piece here, okay, so this was left over from a previous card, and I used an A6 piece of card, and I cut out the number 1 frame from my metric rectangles, and these are the pieces that are left, and it gives me these lovely strips that I've just cut off that I'm going to put at the top and the bottom. So I am just putting a pencil line on my white card there. You can't actually see that very much on there. So this is what I'm doing by putting a border at the top and the bottom. Really brings out that white embossed piece, because I'm doing white on white, and you wait and see, it just looks lovely. So all I'm going to do is pop that on the line so you can't see the line, and because these were, I just wanted a tiny little thin piece. So rather than cut these down, which of course would be ludicrous because they're so thin now, I am just going to glue them on and have them go underneath that white a little bit. And so that's why I drew the line, and I'm just going to put it over the line there and glue it down nice and even. Make sure it's straight, because you don't want it to be crooked at all. And then you'll do the same along the bottom when this one's done. Okay, so I think one of those was also a little bit thicker than another, so it was good to have it, you know, so by doing it that way to keep them nice and straight. So now we are just adding, you can see the circles. So I'm popping the circles on there, and it's wrong. Faux pas. Whoops. So let's put it on now. What I'm actually doing there, I'm eyeballing that green piece. So the base of that green piece I kind of want in the center of the card. So the whole thing looks off center. Pretty much it is, but that the green piece is closest to the center that I could get it just by looking at it. You could measure it, but eh. And you can see that I turned the other one upside down, and I've lined that green piece up in the center, and now it gives you that beautiful swirly look on the front of your card. So off camera, I stamped a Merry Christmas on the same sort of green strip that I've used in the card and as the little frame edges. And you can see that I've put a little bit of foam on either end, a little double-sided foam tape, and I'm just putting some glue in the middle. And I'm going to put this right through where those two join to really finish it off and give it that beautiful look. See what a big difference that makes? It's just gorgeous. I absolutely love this technique. I've never done it before, and I just loved the way it came up. They're not sticking down. That's right, because I forgot to take the release paper off. So note to self, take release paper off before you stick it down. It makes life so much easier. Anyway, this is that section done. I'm going to pop some double-sided foam tape right across this because I would like it, because those two strips go a little bit under it. I thought popping this up would just add another little bit of dimension texture to the whole card. To make sure that I get it straight, I stood up. You could probably see me standing up there because it's always good to work from the top. In actual fact, I think Laura Basson, Laura Fedora, stands up the whole time. I can see the advantages in that in a lot of crafting. All right, so that's all lined up, and I'm going to press that down. Beautiful. So that's on our card, and we are done. There's our whole card. How lovely. The only other thing I did between this part and taking the photos is I put some Wink of Stella on it. You'll be able to see in the photos, I think. Anyway, thanks heaps for joining me. I hope you give this a try and maybe post a picture up on our Facebook group. I'll put a link below. I would love you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, maybe share it with your friends to help me get my name out there. I'll be back later today actually with card 9. So until then, stay safe and happy crafting.